There's something I've noticed about people who think deeply, but it's rarely talked about in an honest way. They don't struggle because they're quiet. They don't struggle because they're sensitive. And they don't struggle because they're misunderstood. They struggle because their inner world runs faster than the external one. Most people experience life in real time. Something happens, they react, and then they move on. But deep thinkers don't move on that easily. An interaction ends, but it doesn't end inside them. A conversation finishes, but the meaning of it keeps unfolding. A moment passes, but the implications linger. And over time, this creates a strange imbalance. You start living two lives at once, one on the outside where things look normal, and one on the inside where everything is constantly being processed, questioned, and reassembled. That dual existence is exhausting, not in a dramatic way, in a quiet, cumulative way. Deep thinkers don't burn out suddenly. They slowly wear down. Because their mind doesn't stop at what happened. It goes to why it happened, what it meant, and what it reveals about people, systems, and themselves. Most of the world isn't built for that level of reflection. Modern life rewards speed, reaction, certainty. Depth, on the other hand, requires pause, ambiguity, discomfort. So when you live with depth, you're already out of sync. You notice contradictions others overlook. You feel emotional undercurrents others ignore. You sense when something is off, even if you can't immediately explain why. And that creates friction. Not because you're trying to be different, but because your way of engaging with reality doesn't match the default setting of society. Carl Jung described this as a conflict between the individual psyche and the collective mindset. The collective wants simplicity, clear labels, predictable roles. The individual psyche wants truth, even when it's inconvenient. Deep thinkers tend to side with truth, and truth rarely fits into neat social patterns. This is why many deep thinkers feel a constant internal tension. They're not anxious all the time. They're not depressed all the time. They're just rarely at rest. Because rest for most people comes from distraction. And deep thinkers don't fully relax through distraction. Even when they're watching something, listening to something, scrolling, part of their mind is still observing, still connecting dots, still asking quiet questions. This makes ordinary life feel heavier than it should. Work becomes draining, not because of the tasks, but because of the unspoken dynamics. Relationships feel complicated, not because of conflict, but because of emotional asymmetry. Social spaces feel loud, not because of noise, but because of superficiality. And over time, a pattern forms. You start editing yourself, not out of fear, but out of efficiency. You learn which thoughts won't land, which questions derail conversations, which observations make people uncomfortable. So you keep them to yourself. And that's where the real problem begins, when your inner life keeps expanding but your outer expression keeps shrinking. Something fractures. You become articulate internally and increasingly silent externally. People may describe you as calm, grounded, easygoing, but they don't see the internal intensity required to maintain that calm. They don't see how much you're holding back. Jung believed that when the inner and outer self drift too far apart, the psyche starts signaling distress, not through breakdowns, but through fatigue, detachment, and a vague sense of meaninglessness. This is why many deep thinkers don't feel sad. They feel dulled, like life has lost texture. Not because it has, but because they've stopped engaging fully. And the reason they stop engaging isn't apathy, it's self-protection. Because depth when constantly unreciprocated, turns into isolation, not physical isolation, psychological isolation. You're surrounded by people, but rarely met at your level. So you adapt. You become the listener, the observer, the one who understands. And while that role looks noble, it comes with a cost. When you're always the one holding space, no one notices when you need space held for you. When you're always composed, no one asks how much effort that composure takes. When you're emotionally literate, people assume you're emotionally self-sufficient. You're not. You're just practiced. Jung warned that individuals who become repositories for other people's unprocessed emotions often lose contact with their own needs, not because they don't have needs, but because they've learned to postpone them indefinitely. This is where deep thinkers often reach a breaking point, not a dramatic collapse, a quiet realization that something is wrong, not with them, but with how they've been living. They realize they've been over-adapting to environments that don't nourish them, over-explaining themselves to people who aren't listening, over-giving in relationships that don't reciprocate depth. And this realization hurts, because it forces a difficult question. Do I continue making myself smaller so life feels smoother? Or do I accept friction in exchange for authenticity? Jung believed this moment is unavoidable for anyone committed to psychological growth. It's the moment where comfort and truth diverge. Choosing comfort keeps you socially integrated but internally fragmented. Choosing truth risks isolation but restores inner coherence. Neither option is painless, but only one allows you to feel whole. This is where many deep thinkers misunderstand their own path. They assume the goal is to be understood. It's not. The goal is to be aligned, to live in a way where your inner world and outer life no longer contradict each other. That might mean fewer relationships, but more real ones. Less noise, but more clarity. More solitude, but less self-betrayal. Depth doesn't demand attention, it demands honesty. And when you stop deluding yourself for environments that can't meet you, something shifts. Your energy returns, your thinking sharpens, your presence stabilizes, not because life gets easier, but because it becomes more truthful. Jung believed that individuals who stay faithful to their inner reality, even at the cost of social friction, become stabilizing forces in the world. Not leaders, not influencers, anchors, people who quietly remind others that depth exists simply by embodying it. If you're a deep thinker, your task isn't to convince the world to slow down, it's to stop rushing yourself, to stop translating your inner life into something more palatable, to stop assuming that being less is the price of belonging. You don't need to be louder, you don't need to be simpler, you need environments and people that don't require you to fragment yourself to fit. And those exist. But they only appear once you stop abandoning your own depth to survive. That's not withdrawal. That's alignment. And for someone like you, alignment is the difference between merely existing and actually living.